Caleb's hands, calloused from years of wrenching engines, gripped the steering wheel of his old pickup truck as he glanced at Harper in the passenger seat. Her eyes sparkled with a dangerous glint, the kind that had drawn him to her 5 years ago when they first collided in this small, suffocating town. The air between them buzzed, electric with the reckless hunger they'd rediscovered after months of routine had dulled their marriage. Tonight, they weren't just a mechanic and a schoolteacher. They were fugitives from monotony, chasing a thrill that made their pulses race. "Ready?" Harper whispered, her voice low, laced with a tremor of excitement and fear. She adjusted. Her skirt, the hem riding high on her thigh, and Caleb's breath caught. He nodded, his jaw tight, as he pulled into the empty lot behind the town's abandoned textile mill. The moon hung low, casting jagged shadows across the cracked pavement. This was their game now. Stolen moments in places where they could be. Caught, where the risk set their skin on fire. They stumbled out of the truck, hands already clawing at each other, lips crashing in a frantic kiss. The mill's rusted walls loomed around them, silent witnesses to their rebellion. Harper's fingers dug into Caleb's shoulders as he pressed her against the truck's hood, the metal cold against her back. Every sound, a distant dog bark, a rustle in the bushes, spiked their adrenaline. "What if someone sees?" she gasped, but her eyes begged him not to stop. Caleb's laugh was rough, almost feral. "Let them." For weeks they'd danced this dangerous waltz, finding corners of their quiet town to reclaim their desire. The park after midnight, the alley behind the diner, each spot a pulse point in their secret map. It wasn't just lust, it was defiance. A middle finger to the life that had started to feel like a cage. But secrets in a place like this, where everyone knew your name, were fragile things. The next morning, Caleb was under a car at his shop, grease streaking his forearms, when Harper burst through the door. Her face was pale, her usual fire dimmed. "Zoe's back," she said, the words sharp, like glass in her throat. Caleb froze, the wrench slipping in his hand. Zoe, Harper's ex, the one who'd left town 3 years ago after a messy breakup that had tongues wagging for months, a bee. One who'd always known how to unravel Harper with a single look. "What does she want?" Caleb asked, his voice steady, but his gut churned. Harper shook her head, her fingers twisting the hem of her sweater. "I don't know. She just showed up at the school, said she's staying for a while. Caleb, she looked at me like she never left." He stood, wiping his hands on a rag, trying to keep the unease from his face. "It's nothing. She's just passing through." But he didn't believe it, and neither did Harper. Zoe wasn't the type to drift aimlessly. She was a storm, and storms didn't come without wreckage. That night, they didn't sneak away to their usual haunts. Instead, they sat at their kitchen table, the silence heavy. Harper's eyes kept darting to the window as if Zoe might appear in the yard. "What if she talks?" she whispered. "What if she knows?" Caleb reached for her hand, but she pulled away, her fear contagious. Their game, their thrill, suddenly felt like a noose tightening around them. Zoe didn't waste time. By the next day, she was everywhere, her laugh echoing in the diner, her car parked outside the bar. She hadn't approached Harper again, but her presence was a taunt, a reminder of a past that refused to stay buried. Caleb noticed the way people watched Harper now, their whispers sharper, their glances lingering. Small towns thrived on gossip, and Zoe's return was blood in the water. At the shop, Caleb's buddy Mike leaned against a toolbox, smirking. "Heard Zoe's back. Stirring up trouble already, huh?" Caleb's grip on his socket wrench tightened. "Mind your business," he snapped, but Mike's laugh followed him all day. He couldn't shake the feeling that eyes were on him, that their secret was slipping through his fingers. Harper was worse. She canceled her after-school tutoring, avoided the market, her nerves fraying with every passing hour. "She's doing this on purpose," she told Caleb one night, her voice shaking as they lay in bed. "She wants to ruin us." He wanted to argue, to tell her she was paranoid, but the doubt gnawed at him too. Zoe had always been a wild card, and Harper's history with her was a wound that had never fully healed. Then it happened. A Friday night, the town buzzing with the high school football game, and Caleb and Harper couldn't resist the pull. They slipped into the woods behind the stadium, the roar of the crowd a distant hum. The risk was intoxicating, the danger a drug they couldn't quit. They were reckless, lost in each other when a branch snapped nearby. Harper froze, her nails digging into Caleb's arm. "Did you hear that?" she hissed. Caleb's heart pounded as he scanned the darkness. Nothing, just shadows and wind, but Harper's panic was real, her breath ragged. "Someone's there," she insisted, pulling away, her eyes wild. They stumbled back to the truck, the thrill souring into dread. As they drove home, Harper kept glancing in the side mirror, like she expected Zoe's face to appear. The next morning, a note was tucked under their windshield wiper. Just 2 words, scrawled in red ink. "I saw." No signature, no explanation, but Harper's hands shook as she read it. "It's her," she said, her voice breaking. "She knows, Caleb. She's going to tell everyone." He wanted to tear the note apart, to call it a prank, but the fear in her eyes stopped him. Their game had been a spark, and now it threatened to burn their lives to ash. Caleb tracked Zoe down that afternoon, finding her at the bar, nursing a beer. She looked the same, all sharp edges and knowing smiles, like she'd been waiting for him. "What do you want, Zoe?" he demanded, his voice low, barely containing his anger. She tilted her head, her eyes glinting with something unreadable. "Just catching up with old friends," she said, but her tone was a blade, slicing through his bravado. "Harper seems tense. Trouble in paradise?" He leaned closer, his fists clenched. "Stay away from her, from us." Zoe's laugh was cold, dismissive. "You think you can scare me, Caleb? I know things. Things people in this town would love to hear." She slid off her stool, brushing past him, leaving him with the weight of her words. That night, Harper was a wreck pacing their living room, her voice rising with every word. "We have to stop. No more sneaking around. If she talks, we're done. The school, your shop, our lives, it's all gone." Caleb grabbed her shoulders, trying to anchor her. "She's bluffing. She doesn't know anything." But his own doubt crept in. "Anchor her." "She's bluffing. She doesn't know anything." But his own doubt crept in, poisoning his resolve. What if Zoe had seen them? What if she'd been the one in the woods? They agreed to lie low, to bury their secret until Zoe left. But the town felt smaller, the walls closing in. Every glance from a neighbor, every whispered conversation felt like an accusation. Harper stopped sleeping, her eyes hollow, while Caleb's temper flared at the smallest things. Their love, once a fire, was now a fuse, burning toward an explosion. They couldn't stop. Then came the final blow. A rumor spreading like wildfire that Harper had been seen with someone in the woods. No names, no proof, but the story grew, twisted by eager tongues. At the shop, Mike wouldn't meet Caleb's eyes. At the school, Harper's principal called her in, asking pointed questions about her personal conduct. They were unraveling, their lives fraying at the seams. Late one night, Caleb found Harper sitting on the porch, staring into the dark. "I can't do this," she whispered. "I can't keep waiting for her to ruin us." He knelt beside her, his heart heavy. "Then we fight. We face her. Together." But even as he said it, He felt the truth slipping away. Zoe wasn't just a person. She was their past, their mistakes, their recklessness come to collect. The next day, they drove to Zoe's rented house, ready to confront her to end this nightmare. But the house was empty. Her car gone. A neighbor said she'd left town that morning. No word on where. Relief should have come. But instead, there was only unease. Zoe was gone, but her shadow lingered, a reminder that some secrets never stayed. Buried, Caleb and Harper returned home, their hands clasped tightly, but the thrill was gone. They'd chased fire, and now they stood in its ashes, wondering if they could ever outrun what they'd started.